Ever stop to think about who's actually putting up all the cell towers and laying the cables for India's, massive mobile network growth? Today, we're really digging into a company called Suyog Telematics. Maybe not a household name, but their work is pretty vital. We've gone through their company info, the financials, market reports, basically trying to get a real handle on what they do, where they're headed, and, well, what the potential really is. We want to cut through the noise and give you the key insights.
Yeah, and what jumps out pretty quickly is how established they are. Founded way back in 1995, listed in 2013. And crucially, they have this IPI license from the Department of Telecommunications.
IPI license. Okay, what does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it's basically a national pass. It lets them build and run telecom infrastructure, like towers and fiber, anywhere in India.
Mm,
So they don't need separate permits for every region. It makes them uh, much more efficient and attractive for the big nationwide carriers.
got it. So a big advantage, they operate across, what, 15 telecom circles?
Exactly, yeah. Over 5,500 towers currently. And their client list is, well, it's basically everyone. Jio, Airtel, BSNL, Vodafone Idea.
That's impressive. Speaks volumes, right?
Definitely. They also did this massive project for BSNL, installing over 10,000 rooftop towers. Apparently, they hold the largest share of government sites, which is interesting.
Okay, so they have license, the reach, the clients. Let's break down what they actually do, like day to day.
Right. So at its core, they provide the physical infrastructure, think cell towers, obviously. They do the big ground-based ones you see everywhere, but also rooftop towers, which are really handy for quick deployment in dense city areas.
Rooftop ones, yeah, you see those popping up.
And they even do camouflage towers, to blend in better. And these cow towers, specifically for rural areas.
Cow towers.
Yeah.
Still love that name. Shows that they adapt, I guess.
Yeah, and they tackle tricky installations too, like on flyovers or in really congested spots. Plus, it's not just towers. They lay the optical fiber networks. Absolutely essential for, high-speed internet, and especially now with 5G rolling out.
So they handle the whole process for the telcos.
Pretty much an end-to-end service. Site hunting, getting permissions, building it, maintaining it. It simplifies things a lot for companies like Jio or Airtel when they want to expand their network.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned growth. Their plans sound, well, pretty ambitious.
They really are. They're targeting 15,000 tenancies by fiscal 26.
15,000. Wow, that's more than double where they are now, isn't it? Around 6,400.
Yeah, it's a big jump. And to get there, they're planning over 10,000 new towers in the next couple of years.
10,000 new towers.
Uh-huh. Around 3,000 of the big macro towers and 1,000 smaller small cell towers, plus laying 5,000 kilometers of new optical fiber.
That's a huge build-out. Where are they focusing this effort?
Seems like a mix. They're definitely targeting high-potential spots like underserved urban areas, think slums, and also pushing hard on fiber to the home, FTTH.
And you mentioned BSNL and MTNL earlier. Big plans there, too.
Yeah, that's a key part of the strategy. They expect revenue from BSNL and MTNL to go from like less than 0.5% now to about 15% of their total by FY26.
15%, that's a massive shift. What's driving that confidence?
It seems to be based on specific long-term contracts they've already secured. Government pushes to improve connectivity, especially outside the main cities. These contracts give them predictable cash flow, which is, well, pretty important when you're planning such a big expansion.
Okay, predictable income helps. But this kind of expansion costs serious money. They mentioned 800 crore in capital expenditure.
Yep, 800 crore. It's a significant investment.
So how are they funding that? Is it all debt?
No, it looks like a mix. They're planning to use debt, yes, but also cash generated from their operations, internal accruals. Plus, potentially more equity from the promoters and maybe bringing in external investors too. Spreading the load, basically.
Right, diversifying the funding. Okay, let's shift to the financials then. How has the performance looked so far?
Historically, it's been pretty strong. Looking back at fiscal 23 to 24, revenue jumped over 14%, hitting about 174 crore. And profit after tax, that grew even faster, up nearly 37% to over euro 63 crore.
That's solid growth. What about more recently?
The momentum seems to be continuing. The December 2024 quarterly results showed income just shy of 50 crore and profit after tax around 17 crore for that quarter alone.
And what about margins? That's often key in this infrastructure game.
Exactly. And there's our, well, quite striking. Operating margins consistently hover between 50 and 70%.
50 to 70, really?
Yeah. And net profit margins are typically in the 30 to 40% range. For FY24, the operating margin was about 54.5%, and the net profit margin was almost 38%.
Those are pretty impressive margins. Suggests they're running things efficiently.
It certainly looks that way.
Hmm.
And the return ratios back that up. Return on capital employed, ROCE, was 21.7%, and return on equity, ROE, was 23.8%. Good numbers.
So strong performance, healthy margins. What about looking forward? What are the projections saying?
Well, the forecasts are bullish. They're aiming for revenue to hit around 395 crore by fiscal 27,
Doubling again, roughly.
more than doubling, yeah. And profit after tax projected to reach 121 crore. Now, if you apply a sort of typical earnings multiple to that, say, 20 times earnings, you get a potential market cap target of around 2,070 crore.
Okay, and what does that translate to for the stock price? It's trading around, what, 920 to 970 now.
Right. Based on those projections and multiple, it could imply a potential share price somewhere around DAM 150, 70. So quite a bit higher than where it is today. And it's worth noting, some external forecasts, like Wallet Investor, seem to point towards a similar kind of trajectory, maybe hitting close to 2,000 by, say, April 2027.
Okay. Significant potential upside suggested there. But, there are always risks. We need the balanced view. What are the main headwinds or challenges for Suyog?
Definitely. First off, it's a competitive field. You've got massive players like Indus Towers, GTL Infrastructure too. That competition can squeeze pricing, as the mobile operators negotiate hard.
Right, pressure from the big customers.
Exactly. Then there's technology. Things change fast in telecom. Keeping up with 5G deployment and whatever comes next requires constant investment and staying agile.
True. What else?
Regulations. Getting the right-of-way clearances to lay fiber or put up towers can be slow and bureaucratic sometimes. Delays cost money.
Yeah, red tape can be a real issue.
And finally, you have to consider the health of their customers, the telecom operators themselves. If one of their major clients runs into financial trouble, well, that could impact Suyog's business. We saw Vodafone Idea go through some stress, for example. It shows how interconnected things are.
That's a really important point. Their fortunes are tied to the overall health of the Indian telecom sector. Okay, so bringing it to the present, where does the company stand in the market today, like right now, May 1st, 2025?
Okay, so market cap is currently sitting around 1,006 crore. The stock price has seen some big swings. The 52-week high was way up at 1,969. So it shows the kind of volatility, but also the potential the market has seen in the past.
Yeah, nearly 2,000. That's quite a peak. What about valuation metrics?
The price to earnings, PE ratio, is about 14.7. And the price to book, PB, is around 2.9. Gives you a sense of current valuation relative to earnings and assets.
Any insight into who owns the stock?
Well, foreign institutional investors, FIIs, held about 3% as of December 24. Not huge, but some interest there. What's maybe more significant is the promoter holding. It's quite high, at 49.5%.
Almost half the company held by the insiders.
Yeah, which many investors see as a positive sign. Shows confidence when people running the show right.
Right. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If someone's looking at Suyog Telematics, what are the absolute key takeaways from all this?
I think the main thing is it's a clear growth story in a really crucial sector for India telecom infrastructure. They've got ambitious plans backed by what look like solid financial projections and these important long-term contracts, especially with government players like BSNL. So there's definite potential for big increases in towers, fiber tenancies, and ultimately revenue and profit.
Plus, the focus on things like fiber to the home seems smart, tapping into growing demand.
Yeah, exactly. They seem strategically positioned for some key growth areas.
But, and it's an important but, you have to balance that potential against the risks we talked about, yeah.
Absolutely. The competition isn't going away. Technological shifts are constant.
Yeah.
Regulatory hurdles are real. And their reliance on the financial health of the big telcos is definitely something to keep an eye on.
So it boils down to weighing that growth potential against those industry-specific challenges.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So as we watch India push further into this digital age, 5G becoming mainstream, data usage just exploding, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of role will companies like Suyog, the ones building the actual physical network, play in shaping that connected future? And maybe even more broadly, what could their success or struggles mean for India's economy and, well, society as a whole? Something to chew on.